Hi, this is Alimayo Arango of ArangoDigitalProduction.com, and today I want to show you how to apply a texture and some texture paint to this mech you see here. So let's get started. Okay, if this is your first time in Blender, I recommend you go to File, User Preferences, Input, and then choose Select with Left. Blender's default select is with right click, and this may confuse you if you're coming from Adobe or other 3D programs. Also, if you happen to be on a laptop, if you put a check mark right here, typically as I'm going through tutorials, I'll refer to, I'll say 1 or 3 or 7 on the number keypad. That's the keypad all the way to the right of a full uh, keyboard keypad. Typically on a laptop, sometimes you'll only have the keys at the top of your keypad. Well, long story short, by clicking here, this will make the keys at the top of your laptop keyboard respond like they were the keys on a full keyboard. If you're watching this tutorial and you followed my modeling tutorial, modeling a mech to get here, when I modeled that tutorial, I modeled it from a cube. So long story short, the mech probably was about from here to here. Is very big. So if you followed that and your mech was very big like mine and you scaled it down like I did right here, if you hit your in menu, all right, you can see where your scale was at. Now here is your scale. Now Blender's regular scale for an object is a 1.000. Because I scaled this down in object mode, this long story short, the scale is off. You pretty much want the scale to be on so it doesn't cause you problems later on. So it's pretty easy to get the scale right. So again, my scale is off. You can see right here 0.073, right? To fix this, all I have to do is hit Control A. All right, this menu comes up, which allows you to apply things. So if I apply the scale, watch what happens. See how that changed to 1.00? And basically, now we're set up. We shouldn't have any problems as far as the scaling is going to go. Because of this scaling issue pops up, that's often why it's a good idea if you're modeling to shrink things down or scale things down inside of edit mode rather than object mode. But Control A will, get you back pretty easily enough. And I'm sorry to have to deal with these possible issues. I just don't want you guys going through some of the annoyances that I have brought on myself sometimes. When I modeled this mesh, and I started planning for this tutorial and basically going over what I wanted to do, I realized that some of the normals are off in this tutorial. So basically, with the main body selected, if like right now I have, here's the main body, here's the main cage. So with the main body selected, I'm going to hit tab to go in edit mode, right? I'm going to hit A to select the mesh, and you can't tell it by looking here, but the normals are actually off here. Okay, when I say normals, you might be like, what the heck is he talking about? Normals. Basically, when I say normals, you see this flat plane right here. Imagine this was a piece of paper, all right? The normals are which direction the paper would be facing. So imagine that if this was a cover, and then this was the front cover, and then it was the back cover. Well, if this was a book and all of these faces were a book, we would want the front cover showing, not the back cover. Having the back cover show would cause little mess ups. Like if you're ever modeling and you see like a little flickering or something in your model, your mesh, a lot of times what it'll be is your normals are off. You can actually set Blender to show you the normals. If you're like, what the heck is he talking about? Okay, here we go. So you go to look for in the end menu. If you don't have it popped up, just hit N. It'll pop up. Here's mesh display. Okay. If you click right here, you see all these little blue lines are coming out. It almost looks like little hair that are coming out. Basically, what this is showing you is which direction the normals are facing. All right, so what's going on here is all of these normals here are facing the same direction on the mesh. However, right here, the normals aren't facing the same direction. So when you go to UV unwrap, which we're going to have to do in this tutorial, or even other things, if you're doing a vertex, dirty paint colors, things like that, it won't work right because these normals are facing the opposite direction. So long story short, the way you can fix that is very simply with everything selected like we have it here, you can just hit Control N, and basically what that does is that command that makes the normals consistent, and now you can see this little hair thing like things are coming out everywhere, that the normals are facing the right way. trust me, it'll save you a lot of issues in the future. And again, if you see flicker or something like that in the future, it's probably because of this. And again, I'm showing you that because it will make our UV unwrapping work the way it should be. Okay, so now that that's right, I'm just going to click here to turn those off. Now what I'm going to do is I am actually going to split the screen in Blender where you see, I'm going to hit N to take this menu away right here. And Blender, wherever you see this little, it almost looks like a little triangle thing right here. If you take your mouse and put your mouse over here, click and hold and drag, you'll drag out a new window. And this is what you're going to need to do to unwrap this. And pretty much as we go about moving forward, putting our textures on here, for the most part, when you put textures on an object, you want to have the object be unwrapped. And basically all it means to unwrap an object is kind of like, imagine putting out your clothes in the morning time. It lays out what we see on this mesh basically flat. You know, kind of like laying out your clothes on the bed. And basically because they're flat, we're able to apply textures in a way that makes some kind of sense. So basically with this window divided, what you're going to do is go right here, left click, and you're going to go to UV image editor. Okay, so here's where we're going to be putting our unwrap out. There's many different ways to unwrap things. This is the way I like for this particular model. If you really want to get into unwrapping and just dealing with textures, there's a guy, Craig Jones, good guy. He's like a master at this kind of stuff, so I would recommend you check out his tutorials for really getting deep into this. But like I said, there's many different ways of doing this. This is just my particular way, and this is fairly quick, so that's how I'm going to show you. So what you're going to do for now, I'm actually going to hide this cage right here so it doesn't confuse you. So this is what we're dealing with right here. So what you're going to do is you're going to hit U. This UV unwrapping menu will pop up, and we're just going to hit Smart UV Project. Or project, I guess. And basically what this does is this just uses, I guess, some kind of algorithm. It tries to be like an artificial intelligence, and Blender tries to lay out these different faces as well as, I guess, Blender sees fit to. So with this over here, that's what you're seeing all right here. You're going to hit A to select all this, then you're going to hit U, go click average island scale, click back on UVs, click pack islands, click back on UVs again, now click minimize stretch. And this will probably take a second or two. It doesn't look like it's really doing anything more, so we'll click here. Okay, as I said before, there's many different ways to unwrap things. Unwrapping things, it can be tedious, it can be confusing as heck. That is why I love this particular method. It pretty much gets the job done. I think it's fairly easy to understand. Basically, with the method that I am going to show you, the main thing that's important is that these UVs aren't distorted too much as far as this model is concerned. So how can we see that the UVs aren't distorted? When I say UVs, again, I'm talking about these flat planes. Okay, that's what all this stuff right here. See this? These flat planes, that's what you're looking at here. All this big mass is all of this flattened out and laid out like a bunch of clothes laid out on the bed is what you're looking at here. All right, so one of the things we want to do is make sure that these are laid out in such a way so that the images that we put on here look right on here. And for that, we need to have this thing look, make sure that this isn't distorting the images, stretching them. And I'll show you what I mean now. If you click on you click images, right? Click new image. This menu pops up. Okay, with this menu pops up, you have this thing that says generated type blank. If you click right here, you click UV grid. And I'm just doing this so you can see like where distortion is or isn't. So you're gonna hit OK. All right, so now this pops up. Now remember, all of these different things, all they are is all of the pieces of this just laid out flat, right? So if I click here and I click texture mode, now you can see it there. To make it easier to see, I'm going to click my materials button, scroll down to where it says shadeless, and this is just going to let Blender not show us shadows on what we're seeing. So I'm going to click shadeless, And basically what you are looking at here is you're looking at, again, this all these pieces are this mesh, the flat pieces laid out flat. Now, because we're looking at a grid here, this grid allows us to easily see when things are distorted or not. So to tell you what I mean by distorted, see how you look at these squares right here. You see a square here and a square here, right? Do these squares look distorted to you? No, they don't look distorted to me. It's not perfect because there's a little bit of weirdness going on here. But for the most part, this square looks like a square. It doesn't look like a deformed, pulled out square. So if this had not done a good job, this UV project, basically this square would be all whacked out. And suppose we took, I don't know, a picture of your face, whoever's watching this, and we put your face on here, directly on here. We took the image of your face. It should, because these squares aren't distorted, that image of your face shouldn't be distorted, and it should literally pop right on there, look how it's supposed to look. Where if this wasn't a square, and if it was kind of like pulled out, like rectangle, or even look like an oval, if we took your face and put it on there, your face would also have that not right look. Okay, so again, this is just to see, to make sure everything looks right. And long story short, it looks right. Okay, so now that we know it looks right, this is what we're going to do. We're going to put the actual base image on here. All right, so we need the base image. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to Google, and we're going to put in, we're going to search for scratched metal. We'll click images. Okay, so we're just going to scroll down and we're going to look for some scratched metal, and you have a bunch of different options to pick from here. And I had already went in here before and saved it. Where's the one? This is the one I believe that I grabbed. But any of these scratched metal ones should work. Okay, once you have that scratched metal image that you want to use, you just click image. You'll go to open image. And then you're going to, if you click this button right here and open image, it'll allow you to see what you're looking at. So here's my image right here. I'm going to select here. I'm going to select open. And now you can see there is my image. And because I had this set to texture mode, now you can see the mech already has like that metal kind of look on it, which is pretty cool. Okay, and now with this base coat of texture on there, now what we need to do is go right to here. I'm holding my middle mouse to pull this panel. I'm going to go right to this triangular shape. This is the Blender's data, active data button. And what we're going to do is scroll down here to where you see UV maps, right? Here's your UV maps here, and your UV maps obviously applied to here. This also represents what you see. So what we're going to do now is click right here. We're going to change the name to final texture, hit enter to lock it in. And again, this is going to be our base coat. Now what we're going to do is I'm holding shift and my middle mouse button. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. I'm going to hit 3 on my number keyboard. And if you should see it say right ortho. If it doesn't say right ortho, if it's like this, it's in perspective. Then hit 5 to go into right ortho. Okay, now what you're going to want to do is you are going to hit this plus right here. This is creating another separate UV map. This UV map is totally separate from right here. And this allows us to change this without messing up it allows us to change this UV map, again, which is separate from this, without worrying about messing up the first UV map. So what we want to do is, because this is a separate UV, we want to actually do another unwrap. So what we're going to do is we're going to hit U to bring up the unwrap menu. Then we're going to select project from view. All right, the reason why we did this is to get, project from view gives us an exact view of the side of this. And that's just as an easy way to allow us to put details into this. So here's our unwrap over here. I'm going to hit S to scale just to bring it up, almost to fill this area. I'm going to hit G just to move it up a little bit and hit S to scale a little teeny bit more. Still want to make sure you keep it in there though. keep it within the bounds there. So now what we're going to do is you're going to go to select UVs. You're going to select export UV layout. Make sure you know it's a folder going to where you're at. Here's mine. I did it before, but what you're going to do is just click export UV right here. Okay, and I'm just going to click cancel because I already exported out. Once you have that UV exported out, then you would just go to your folder where you have your exported UV. Here's mine right here. So in my case, I would just right click open with, go to GIMP and open it in GIMP. It'll work fine in Photoshop or any image manipulation program that allows you to have transparencies. Anyway, here it is in GIMP here, and you can see even though it had that the metal background behind it, when you export a UV layout, it just exports the UV with a transparent background, so you can see what's going on. And what this allows us to do is this allows us to very easily put details on in. Because we have the exact layout, we can see exactly where we want things to go. So basic details I put in. Joe Roch was the guy that I had. He asked me to make this tutorial, so it seemed to make sense to put him in here. So I have Joe Roch missile systems, a little stripe, a little background there, and then just 2 vents. So once you have your basic details here, what you want to do is whatever image manipulation program you're in, unhide your UV. Then you're going to go to, in this case, File, Export, and blah blah blah. Yep. And just export out. And again, make sure that you hide your UV layout as you export it out or save it, however you're getting it out. And once that's out, we can go right back into Blender. And now what we're going to do, so we're still on this second UV map layout. So what I'm going to do is name this side image source. Now what I'm going to do is I am going to go to image, open image, put this button so I can see what I'm doing, and I'm just going to bring in those images. So there they are right there. Because it's in it's brought in here because it's in texture mode, you can see it came right in there. Okay, now with this in here, we want to make sure that we're selected on the second UV map here, right? We're in edit mode. Okay, so we're in edit mode. We have the second UV selected. We're going to select here. And then going to go to texture paint mode. So now we're in texture paint mode. Everything kind of changes. This right here is a bunch of options for brushes that we can have, because it's almost like we just switched. Blender is an amazing program. It's almost like when we went to texture paint, it's like now you have a paint palette and you can paint things. So I don't know if you guys have ever messed with miniature, little war miniatures or anything like that, or little models. Blender kind of like just switches into a mode where it's almost like you're holding a little miniature model figure and just spinning it and painting, and that's basically what's going on here. So anyway, in this mode, you start off in F brush. You want to check this. You want to select F clone, and then you want to go down until you see where it says final texture here. Remember, that's our base texture. We don't want that. You're going to select here, and then you're going to select the side image source. Right now, you're going to click clone from UV image. All right, and the image, it's so far it's the order you do this in is actually important. So we came from edit mode, we were selected on the side image source, and then we selected side image first, and then now after doing all that, we selected clone from UV map. So now after doing all that, now we select back to final image texture, switches back in here, and now because we have it set up to clone from here, now when I paint here, you can see right there the information coming in. And the vents and everything just like how I wanted it to. And just to give you a little bit of information while we're in here, I have this paintbrush, right? I can control the size of this paintbrush by hitting F. If I hit F and I push in, it gets smaller. If I pull back, it gets bigger. Here's my strength of the brush right here, so I can increase the strength and lower it down right here. So right now when I paint here, pretty much what it does is see the missile systems just coming in now. It paints in slightly with a little bit of opacity, and you can control that. You know, your strength here, and again your radius there. Okay, so now we have that our basic. You can see how easy it is to put in basic details. I mean, we still have some work to go. So I want to sit there, and this other side, it should mirror right in here, and there it goes. So here's my vent from my other side. And you can just imagine one of the powers of the way that I showed you how to do this is it's fairly easy to do. You don't have to go through really unwrapping. And basically, remember what I told you, it's kind of like you have a little miniature you're just spinning around, and you can paint this thing however you want to paint it. Okay, and let me show you guys this real quick, just how easy it is to add even more details. So we're going to go back to edit mode. We have our final texture right here. We're going to select here. We're going to hit a plus to go to another one. We're going to change this to front image source. Then we're going to hit 1. Make sure you're in front ortho. So again, this is totally separate from the other one, so it should mess them up. Then you're going to hit U on your number key. Sorry, not on your number. You're going to hit U to unwrap. You're going to do project from view. And then with your project from view here, and see the stuff in the back that doesn't even, to be honest, doesn't really matter. So what we're going to do is we are going to go to UVs again. We're going to export the UVs here. We'll name this front UV. Export that out. Then here's that front UV, just like we did before. We right click on this, open it, GIMP, and here it is right here. So now I'm going to just grab some details from right here, layer, new from visible, edit, copy, right to here, edit, paste into, and I was working on this a little bit earlier. I'm going to hit Shift T, hold Control to constrain, just to give a little bit of detail. Front there. And all I did with here was I pulled information from the side UV. All right, so now we have that. Not the best. Just a little bit bigger. So now we have this on the front here. It's not bad. So then, just like before, we take this front UV, we hide this right here, and we do a file export. Front UV, back, yep. Export that in, we'll replace it. It's fine. Now we'll move this out of the way, right back to Blender. Now we'll hit Image, Open Image, click here so we can see. Here's our front UV. Bring this in just like before. Okay, now just like before, the order is important. So we have our front image source selected here. We're in edit mode. So we click here, we go into texture mode, we go up to the top, we make sure we have the clone brush selected. We scroll down, we're gonna actually uncheck that and check front image source. Put the clone check back in there, select the final texture, and now with the this on the front, now we paint, and there we go. We can see it going right where we want it. And you can see it's fairly easy to add details. pretty cool. Now we can see if we click and hold and spin, we can see our details all in where they're supposed to be at. Okay, now we're going to add some coloring. So we're going to go back up to the top. We're going to actually before this first, we're going to uncheck right here. I'm going to go back up to the top of the clone. We're going to change this to F brush, and now we can pick a color. And now what we can do is we can just paint. And again, it's kind of like holding a little war miniature. I'm just going to turn down the strength here a little bit. I don't want it taking too much of the metal grading away. And yeah, like usual, I mean, depending on how much time you spend, obviously you'll get better results. For the sake of the tutorial, I'm trying to do a decent speed. You can see that, you know, you can get the basic gist. You know, you can see how you can yeah, it's like holding a little miniature and kind of spinning it around. And hopefully you can see if you spend some serious time on this thing, you could really have it looking good. Grab some black paint for here. Take the strength all the way up for this. Yeah, if you're gonna, I would recommend if you're gonna do fine details. I mean, you can. I mean, I think about fine details. I can see an image of Craig Jones' face in my his face in my head, because he does things in Blender that are unbelievable. But I would recommend for fine details, you know, you might want to sit there and go to do that in GIMP or Photoshop, and you know, come and clean up. And if you're really interested in getting you know, some, like I said, super into this, definitely check out Craig Jones's YouTube page, because he does unbelievable things in with textures in Blender. Okay, when you have your basic painting done, you can come back, click here, come out of texture mode, back into edit mode, and now you have your final texture right here. And you definitely want to hit select image and then save as image. I'm going to put a absolute final like texture. Use this one just so there's no doubt for myself. Whoops. So you definitely want to make sure you have that saved. Okay, so again, this is all your information that you need to have these details, or whatever details you choose to put on your individual mech. You know, is right here, that final texture. So we were in texture paint, we came back in edit mode, and we saved this texture. The reason why that's important is I'm about to take you guys into cycles. Right now, pretty much I would recommend, if you're going to do your texture painting and your UV unwrapping, that you do that in the Blender internal rendering system. And that's where you can see right here, it says Blender render. If for those of you that don't know, Blender's default internal render system is what, you know, that's what you start off in Blender. However, Blender has another render engine called Cycles, and Cycles just makes things look beautiful. Long story short, the reason why Cycles tends to make things look so beautiful is just the lighting system inside of Cycles acts like a real lighting system. And when you, one of the things with Cycles is when you go from the Blender render engine into the Blender Cycles, you tend to lose all your material. So that's what we're about to do here, and I'll show you how to, you know, put them back on. Okay, to go into cycles, all you do is click right here. You can see the cycles render right there. Select that. Now we are in cycles. Right, we really don't need this. And if you want to get rid of this window, what you can do is just the little triangle thing right here. The way I kind of think of it, it's almost like, to me, it almost looks like it's pointing that way. So whatever way you pull, kind of how it's pointing will let it form an arrow that will let it disappear. It's kind of hard to describe. So anyway, you click here, pull and drag. You see the arrow kind of transparent right there, and that window disappears. So anyway, now we're in cycles. All right. Cycles. One of the things with cycles that's very cool is we had our texture paint mode on here. And if we click rendered, cycles will basically show us a almost rendered version of this mech. Very cool, very useful. I'll show you. So I'm going to click here, go back into solid, and typically what I'll do in cycles is I'll keep one window in the rendered view so I can see what's going on in real time as far as textures and lighting and other stuff, and then I'll keep another window with it just being solid so I can move, manipulator easily around. You'll see. Okay, when you come into cycles, it's interesting because a lot of things, and not a lot of things change though, but basically what you want to do when you come into cycles, what I tend to do is cycles, because the lighting system in cycles tends to use a lot of power. If you happen to have an NVIDIA card, if you have it set up, matter of fact, if you have an NVIDIA card, if you go to File, User Preferences, and you look right here where it says Compute Device, if you have an NVIDIA card, you can select CUDA. Here's my NVIDIA 650 card, and basically what that does, it just lets cycles go faster. So even if you have that set up, and that's what you need to do, is go to User Preferences, check CUDA to use your NVIDIA card. Then what you would do is go to your render button, and you would change this device from CPU to GPU, and just tends to make cycles work a lot faster, a lot better. I'm going to change the my render settings right here down to 720. It's what I usually render out at. I'm going to change this to new window. Also, this isn't so much for cycles. That's just my particular settings. Set my frame rate up for 25 because I'm recording at 25. As far as cycle specific things that you want to set up, or that I tend to set up, the way that cycles works is cycles renders out, and basically the way that it renders out is it renders an image, and the image clarity is determined by these samples right here. So if you render an image out where it has like 10 samples right here, if it's at a rendered for 10 samples, I'll show you. Let me split my window here. If you want to see your real-time cycles view, you click here, click rendered. So here's cycles right here. Actually, let me set this up. I'm going to over here. You can see in cycles how your manipulator disappears. So here's my 3D cursor in Blender. Wherever the 3D cursor is at is where a new object comes in. I'm just going to go into object mode. I'm going to hit Shift A to bring in a plane. I'm going to hit S to scale. And you can see it. You can see the light even over there with cycles reacting. It's very, very cool. Put this down here. Now I'm going to hit Shift A again. Bring in another plane, and I'm going to roll my mouse wheel back, use my manipulator, put this plane up. Now I'm going to hit S to scale. Something interesting in cycles is cycles tends to work better, in my opinion, from planes, emitting light from planes rather than a regular light source. So here was the light source that we were using in Blender. Now what I'm going to do is, I'm going to try not to spend too much time on this, but now what we're going to do is, with this selected, I'm going to go to Materials. I'm going to click New. All right, and this is how you set up a light, an easy way to set up a light for cycles. The material is a diffuse material. I'm going to select here, and then I'm going to click Emission, and watch what happens as soon as I click it. You see that right there, how the whole scene lit up? Okay, the whole reason I went through that was so I could show you how the sampling works. So I put the floor in. Cycles is so realistic that basically, pretty much in the Blender internal engine, if light is coming from this direction here and it hits the mech, pretty much the light will stop right here, and like you'll see the light hit here, and then on the other side there'll be blackness. Where in cycles, when light comes down and light hits, light actually doesn't just hit the object that it's on, it'll actually hit the ground, reflect off of the ground, and reflect back up. So I put the floor here so we could have the light reflecting, back up, and obviously the light here so we could have the light reflecting down. I did all that to show you that in cycles, typically right here we have this set for a sample of 10. See how when I roll the mouse wheel, it gets very blurry, like very pixely, and then it very quickly comes in. What's going on there is this sample's rendering size, so it quickly goes up to 10, right? But it stops at 10. You can see all that graininess, right? And just so you guys can see it, actually the render is when we actually render out the preview is what's going up to 10. So I'm going to click here and I'm going to set this for 100 just to quickly show you this. You see this number racing up here to 100. As this number races up, the more it races up, the clearer this image will get. And then it stops at 100. So basically in cycles, you set how clear you want the image to get. And, Blender will, race up there. If you're doing for animation, a lot of times, depending on what it is, you can have the animation be from, like 100 to 250, depending on if you're doing it for yourself or something else. If you're doing a and that's what the samples would be for, like for an animation, possibly for still images and cycles. I've seen people go as high as 25,000 samples, which is kind of unbelievable. Anyway, without getting all that, I just wanted to let you know, kind of what was going on in cycles and how it kind of worked. And I wanted to let you know kind of how it worked, because typically, you can work with the Blender internal engine to make things look beautiful, but cycles allows you to do it fairly easily. And if you really want to, in my opinion, display things and have them look unbelievably beautiful and realistic, you want to, pretty much do it in cycles. So anyway, all that stuff, now that you have a little bit of understanding with it, one of the other things you want to set up in cycles is you want to take this light source. It's at max 8. You can turn this down to 4. You can turn this down to 0. I had heard this from Andrew Price on the Blender Girl a while ago, and it's good advice. It doesn't really seem to make that much of a difference as far as the clarity of what you see, but it does tend to make things run a lot faster. Okay, now with all that being said, you're probably like, okay, well, what happened to the textures? The textures in cycles works a little bit different. That's why they disappeared. It's not too bad to get them back. You're going to select your Mech here, and what you're going to do is go to your materials plane right here. You're then going to click use nodes. All right, once you click use nodes, what you're going to do is select right here where it says color, and you're going to actually, before that, you want to select this normal, right where it says normal right here, put UV. Now go back to your color. You're going to select right here, and then you're going to put image texture, select image texture, and now we're looking for that, just to make sure it's the right one, absolute final, use this one. Okay, so we open that up, and now you can see it's kind of hard. Let me make this light brighter. The image texture is right back on there. I'll push this down a little bit and increase this lighting somewhat so you can see better. Yeah, this is very dark. It's actually darker than I wanted, and I know this tutorial is already probably getting on to be pretty long, but I want to show you how you can see this. It's almost black. That's not what I wanted. And one of the nice things is that once you've done the work of getting your UV map, changing this is pretty easy. So we have this right here, right? It's all mapped out. So what we can do is we can go and grab, here is the final, absolute final Mech texture. Use this one. I didn't think it would end up that dark, so I'm going to hit open with GIMP. All right. So basically now here it is in GIMP. So what I can do to make it lighter, I'm just going to select here, duplicate this, and I'm going to go to colors, curves, use curves, and just push this up, make it a lot brighter. This is some extra stuff for you guys. I'm going to hit right click, hit add layer mask. I know this is some complicated stuff. You don't have to do this. This is just if you guys want to get into it later. Like I said, it was just too dark. I'm going to select add layer mask, white full opacity, and I'm not going to describe this stuff because, like I said, it already is a pretty long tutorial. The layer mask, I'm just going to color to bring Joel's name back here. And the main thing you can get from this is I changed very quickly. I changed the made it a lot brighter. As a matter of fact, I think I'm going to make it even slightly even brighter. So now what I'm going to do is I am going to file, export, and I'm going to put a 2 on this so I have an option of going back to the original one. Okay, so now that's exported out. Now we're right back here in Blender. Now we come back over to our materials panel, select the mech, and you can see it's selected right here. And now what I can do is delete that previous texture, come right back in here, open it up again. Here's the new one I just made. Here's the original one. You can see how dark that is. Here's the new one. I click this. And now there you go. Just that quick. It's lightened up now. Okay, and now let me show you this. Joel, you asked me for this tutorial. I made it for you. So if no one ends up liking this, it's your responsibility to like this this tutorial. I know this thing keeps going on and on. I just there's certain things I do want to show you guys, and I feel that it's necessary to show you this next part. And I know it just seems like it probably seems like it just keeps going on and on. But what I did there was I just split the window. Actually, I am going to take this window. I'm going to click here, drag this up. I'm going to drag this window over here. What I'm doing is I'm grabbing these points. I'm grabbing and pulling. See that arrow? That means that window is going to shut. So now that left window is going to be the only window left. As soon as I let go of the button, there it goes right there. Now, the reason why I did that was I wanted to grab this little triangle thing again and split it yet again. And I'm going to go here to the rendered mode. I'm going to turn this back to solid. I'm now going to go, remember I was telling you guys how these windows are kind of, I thought I told, but these windows are all kind of the same. So here's a duplicate of the 3D window. I'm just going to select here and I'm going to go into the node editor. Okay. In the node editor, basically these things represent the materials that you see and the setup that you see on here. I'll say, okay, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to turn this back to rendered so we can see exactly what's going on. And what I wanted to show you here, and we're almost through this, guys, is one thing I did want to mention is my blue. If you see there's like a little bit of blue you can see there. Some of the blue disappeared when I made it lighter. The textures pretty much are pictures that go on top of these polygons, right? There is a way to make the textures, even though that they're flat, look like they're not flat, and that is by bump maps and normal mapping. And I'm going to show you just a quick setup. So very quickly, I'm just going to rearrange this just a little bit. So I'm going to disconnect this from here, move this. This is the image texture that I'm grabbing here. What I'm going to do is I have my texture coordinate node, and I'm just going to take my UV. And I'm going to plug this into the vector here. And then let me get this on Joel's name so you can see this. If you look here, let me change. I'm going to click the samples up so you can hopefully see what happens. So we're in 100. I'm actually going to kick this up to 500 samples. And again, samples makes things look clearer. You see how you can see Joel's name there and it looks kind of flat, right? When I go to this this UV right here, what I'm going to do here is I'm going to pull from this color and just plug this into this displacement. And as soon as I connect this, pay attention to his name. And hopefully you can see that. But basically what I did was that when I put that into that displacement, all of this right here started to get, it just looks almost like this is bitten in, like it looks kind of like white metal now, but it looks like it actually has depth. If you see Joel's name, it actually looks like it has just a little bit of depth to it. Okay, now that we have that set up, I'm just going to click here. We're almost through this. I'm going to take this little arrow thing again, click and hold, pull up, see the arrow? The arrow means that that bottom screen is going to become the full screen. There it goes. Now I'm just going to unhide this cage right there. And that's cool. The cage was already black, but one of the cool things about this is once the initial stuff is set up, it's pretty easy to change. This looks too white to me now, and we still have that. I saved that initial UV unwrap, so I'm actually going to go and everything, all the nodes and all that we set up should stay the same. I'm going to click here, take them off. I'm going to click open. I'm going to look for that original UV map right here and just click open, and it should just come in. Yeah, so there's the original. So doesn't look quite as dark now, but hopefully I didn't confuse you guys too much. It's a lot of information I try to get in. I mean, this looks not the best. Hopefully you guys can take the basic techniques from this and do something pretty awesome. You can actually see as the samples keep racing up here, it looks better and better as it goes along. But you can sit there and depending on how much time you take and put into this, obviously the results are you'll get better results. So yeah, I was trying to get through this, just a lot of information to get in. So okay guys, that's it for the tutorial. Joel, I hope you like this one. You're definitely gonna make this look better with less harsh lighting and all that. But for all you guys who like these videos and reshare them, thank you, I appreciate it. For all you new people who are new to this channel, if you like this video and you would like to see more, please subscribe, and thank you for viewing.